Once a dominant force in Dalton's leadership, Tiffany Henyard now finds her grip on power slipping away. What began as whispers of misconduct has erupted into a full-blown political and legal crisis. Henyard, who once proudly referred to herself as the Queen of Dalton, is now drowning in a sea of scandals, mismanagement, and public outrage. The latest blow to her authority came when explosive leaked footage, allegedly from her own team, surfaced, further shaking an already fragile political career. Her leadership has been marked by a series of controversial and reckless decisions, but her latest move raised even more eyebrows. After a Board of Trustees meeting was abruptly canceled due to low attendance, Henyard proceeded with major appointments and legal decisions, all without board oversight. In what many see as a blatant power grab, she installed a new village administrator and made key legal appointments, reinforcing her control over Dalton's administration. These unauthorized decisions were met with backlash, with critics calling them desperate attempts to maintain control rather than a genuine effort to govern effectively. The Illinois Attorney General's office swiftly condemned her actions, citing multiple violations of the Open Meetings Act, first in June and again in July. As a result, state authorities launched an investigation into her administration, further escalating the crisis. Beyond the legal troubles, Henyard's governance has become increasingly authoritarian. She ramped up security at Village Hall, claiming it was in response to vague and unverified threats. However, many residents suspect a different motive, a calculated effort to limit public access and shield herself from mounting criticism. Meetings that were once open to the public have become exclusive, closed-door affairs, fueling accusations that Henyard is suppressing dissent rather than addressing concerns. As transparency diminished, public disillusionment grew. Attendance at village meetings dwindled to fewer than 20 people, a stark contrast to the once active civic engagement in Dalton. Many saw this as a sign of widespread frustration, with residents losing faith in Henyard's leadership. Amidst the turmoil, Henyard made yet another controversial decision, appointing a new village administrator and lawyer, both of whom were perceived as more loyal to her than committed to serving the town's best interests. These moves only deepened the distrust in her administration, reinforcing the belief that she was more focused on protecting herself than addressing Dalton's growing challenges. As Henyard's political empire began to unravel, so did her alliances. Her once loyal right-hand man, Keith Freeman, is now at the center of a legal firestorm. Freeman, a key figure in Henyard's administration for years, now faces multiple charges, including bankruptcy fraud, concealing assets, and falsifying income. Sensing that Freeman's downfall could jeopardize her own political future, Henyard quickly distanced herself. Their relationship, once built on mutual loyalty, turned into a bitter feud, with Henyard attempting to fire Freeman, allegedly fearing that his cooperation with federal investigators could expose her own misconduct. Freeman, however, refused to go quietly. He pushed back against his dismissal, arguing that the meeting where he was fired lacked a legal quorum, making her actions unlawful. His defiance only added more drama to the already crumbling administration. Freeman's legal troubles weren't the only problem for Henyard. Reports surfaced that he had engaged in retaliation against employees, firing those who refused to support Henyard's policies. This revelation further undermined the administration's credibility, making it clear that corruption and power struggles ran deep within the leadership. The scandal intensified. Henyard found herself facing a wave of lawsuits. Former employees accused her of wrongful termination, claiming they were punished for questioning her decisions. These legal battles only worsened the already fragile public relations surrounding her administration. Despite the overwhelming pressure, Henyard refused to back down. Instead of addressing she doubled down, making even more questionable moves to consolidate her power. She continued expanding security at Village Hall, justifying it with flimsy, unverified threats, leading many to believe it was merely a diversionary tactic to shift focus from her growing legal troubles. As Dalton's future hangs in the balance, the once promising leader is now a symbol of political downfall. What began as hopeful change has descended into scandal, betrayal, and a fight for survival. Residents of Dalton now face a critical question. Will Henyard finally be held accountable, or will she cling to power until the bitter end? One thing is certain, Dalton's leadership crisis is far from over. Once a dominant political figure in Dalton, Tiffany Henyard is now fighting to maintain her grip on power as controversy and scandal threaten to bring her administration to its knees. Public confidence in her leadership has plummeted, and what was once seen as a promising tenure has spiraled into chaos. Residents of Dalton, once supportive, are now deeply divided over Henyard's leadership. Her authoritarian approach, questionable financial decisions, and refusal to engage with the Board of Trustees have raised serious concerns about her ability to govern. Allegations of misconduct, corruption, and power consolidation have only fueled speculation that she is more focused on self-preservation than on serving the community. Henyard's desperate attempts to reorganize her administration, including the controversial appointment of Keith Freeman and other figures to key positions, have only deepened suspicions that she is replacing critics with loyal supporters. However, these moves have backfired, as Freeman himself has become entangled in federal investigations, bringing further scrutiny to Henyard's administration. With legal pressures mounting, many believe Henyard is shielding herself from the fallout. Speculation is growing that Freeman's potential cooperation with investigators could expose deeper levels of misconduct within her administration. Despite her best efforts to control the narrative, Henyard is losing ground on all fronts. Henyard's administration is now in complete disarray, and her attempts to maintain control are only making matters worse. Internal conflicts, most notably her deteriorating relationship with Keith Freeman, have further damaged her credibility. Once seen as her trusted ally, Freeman is now a political liability. In a shocking turn, Henyard attempted to fire Freeman, allegedly fearing that he might turn against her and cooperate with federal investigators. However, Freeman refused to step down, arguing that his dismissal was unlawful due to the lack of a legal quorum at the meeting where it was discussed. His defiance has only fueled the drama, and his insider knowledge of Henyard's activities makes him a serious threat to her political survival. At the same time, Henyard is facing serious accusations of financial mismanagement. Many Dalton residents are now questioning how taxpayer money has been spent under her leadership. Allegations of corruption continue to emerge, further eroding public trust and intensifying calls for accountability. Beyond the legal and financial troubles, Henyard's iron-fisted control over Dalton's government has drawn sharp criticism. She has repeatedly disregarded established protocols, sidelining the Board of Trustees and making unilateral decisions without oversight. In one of her most controversial moves, she held a town meeting without the board's approval, a blatant disregard for democratic governance. Public meetings that should have been open and transparent have instead become highly restricted, closed-door affairs. Her increasingly repressive tactics, including heightened security at Village Hall, have led many to believe that she is trying to silence critics rather than address concerns. As the legal and political pressure intensifies, the cracks in her leadership are becoming impossible to ignore. Her once loyal allies are turning against her, and she is now seen as a leader desperate to cling to power at any cost. Keith Freeman, once Henyard's closest confidant, has now become one of the biggest threats to her administration. With federal investigators closing in on him, there is widespread speculation that he holds key evidence that could directly implicate Henyard in legal wrongdoing. His ongoing presence in the administration has become a major obstacle for Henyard, as she struggles to distance herself from the growing scandal. Some believe she fears that Freeman, if backed into a corner, could expose damaging details about her governance, leading to her ultimate downfall. Additionally, former employees have come forward with lawsuits accusing Henyard of retaliation, wrongful termination, and abuse of power. These claims paint a disturbing picture of an administration that operates through fear, intimidation, and control rather than genuine leadership. The legal troubles surrounding Henyard's administration appear to extend beyond Freeman, suggesting a broader pattern of misconduct. If investigations confirm these allegations, Henyard could face serious legal consequences, ones that could permanently end her political career. With her support from the Board of Trustees eroding, legal battles multiplying, and public trust at an all-time low, Henyard's leadership is hanging by a thread. Many believe it is only a matter of time before she is forced to resign or removed from office. Her attempts to consolidate power, including the controversial appointment of Freeman and other loyalists, have only deepened suspicions that she is trying to avoid accountability rather than lead effectively. As Dalton's residents grow increasingly frustrated, the pressure on Henyard to step down or face more serious consequences continues to escalate. Her reputation, once seen as unshakable, is now in tatters. For Dalton, the fallout from Henyard's tenure will not be easily repaired. The city will have to rebuild trust, restore proper governance, and ensure accountability for those responsible for the chaos. But one thing is clear: Tiffany Henyard's reign is crumbling, and her time in power may be rapidly coming to an end. As tensions rise in Dalton, Mayor Tiffany Henyard's position has become increasingly precarious. The ongoing power struggle between Henyard and village administrator Keith Freeman has fueled speculation about her true motives, particularly as reports emerge about Freeman's alleged cooperation with federal investigators. Many believe that Henyard's attempts to remove Freeman from his position have less to do with his job performance and more to do with silencing a potential whistleblower. If Freeman indeed possesses damaging information about Henyard's administration, his refusal to step down could be a direct challenge to her authority. At the same time, Henyard's efforts to sideline the Board of Trustees and make unilateral decisions without their approval have further isolated her. Her controversial appointments and disregard for democratic processes have only strengthened the perception that she is desperately clinging to power. During a recent public meeting, rather than addressing concerns over her leadership and decision-making, Henyard dramatically blamed the controversy on a smear campaign aimed at tarnishing her reputation. She portrayed herself as a victim of an orchestrated attack, but this strategy backfired. Frustration among Dalton residents reached a boiling point when a bold audience member stood up and directly challenged her leadership, stating, "If you refuse to listen to the concerns of the people, the door is open for you to leave." The remark was met with tense silence, reflecting the growing dissatisfaction with Henyard's administration. Instead of addressing the criticism, Henyard brushed it off with defiance, insisting that she was being unfairly targeted. Once a dominant political figure, Henyard's leadership is now under siege. With Freeman's persistence, legal troubles from former employees, and resistance from the Board of Trustees, she is facing one of the most significant political crises of her career. As Henyard fights to maintain control, serious allegations of financial misconduct have surfaced, further damaging her credibility. She has been accused of egregious misuse of public funds, sparking widespread outrage among taxpayers and officials. In just 5 months, Henyard allegedly spent $67,000 on personal travel expenses for herself and her. As the walls close in around her, it seems only a matter of time before her administration collapses under the weight of scandal. This situation marks what could be the dramatic and controversial conclusion of Henyard's once promising political career. Whether she chooses to resign or is forced out of office, the fallout from her leadership will serve as a stark warning about the consequences of unchecked power and political mismanagement. Controversies and public dissatisfaction paint a different picture, one of a leader struggling to maintain control as her grip on power weakens. The growing rift between Henyard and the Board of Trustees, combined with intensifying scrutiny from residents and officials, raises serious doubts about the sustainability of her leadership. With each new revelation, The pressure escalates, making it increasingly difficult for her to dismiss the accusations as mere political attacks. While she continues to portray herself as a misunderstood leader, the legal and ethical concerns surrounding her administration are becoming impossible to ignore. Whether Henyard can weather the storm and retain her authority remains uncertain. However, the cracks in her administration are deepening, signaling what could be a turning point in Dalton's political landscape. Despite the controversies engulfing her administration, Henyard continues to insist that her leadership has benefited the town. She has publicly stated, however, rather than quelling concerns, these statements have only fueled further suspicion that she is attempting to deflect attention from the scandals surrounding her administration. While Henyard credits Dalton's supposed progress to her leadership, residents remain deeply skeptical. Many argue that her claims of improvement stand in direct contrast to the reality on the ground, where the town continues to grapple with. Instead of providing accountability, Henyard has doubled down on defiance, portraying herself as a martyr targeted by political adversaries. However, as lawsuits mount and public confidence erodes, her ability to maintain this narrative is quickly diminishing. Henyard's administration is now entangled in multiple legal battles, with former employees and business owners stepping forward with alarming allegations of corruption, favoritism, and political retaliation. One striking case involves a local barber shop owner who claims his business license was revoked without explanation. Many see this as evidence of Henyard using her power to punish those who oppose her, reinforcing the perception that her leadership is motivated by personal vendettas rather than fair governance. The impact of her leadership style extends beyond mere job losses. Several reports suggest that she has deliberately targeted individuals whom she perceives as political threats, particularly in Dalton and Thornton Township. A particularly troubling incident involves Dwayne Thrash, a former maintenance manager. Thrash alleged that members of Henyard's inner circle pressured him to participate in a scheme to replace the school board's attorney with one of their allies. When Thrash refused, he was promptly fired. This move has been widely interpreted as part of Henyard's broader pattern of political retaliation, further strengthening the case against her. One of the most significant blows to Henyard's leadership came when Carmen Cho, a trustee on the Thornton Township Board, publicly denounced her. Once a staunch supporter, Cho shocked the political establishment by accusing Henyard of being predatory and unethical in her pursuit of power. Her remarks reflect a growing wave of dissatisfaction, even among those who once aligned themselves with Henyard. Cho further accused the mayor of using residents, merchants, and staff as political pawns to expand her influence, all while presenting a facade of success funded by taxpayers. Her public renouncement has only added fuel to the fire, coming at a time when Henyard's administration is already facing. In a powerful statement, Cho admitted that she had remained silent for too long, but could no longer stand by as Henyard's actions continued to harm the community. I'm speaking up for myself and those impacted by Henyard's leadership. I believe there are many more victims who have been retaliated against, but haven't spoken out yet. Cho's statements have emboldened other critics and deepened the cracks within Henyard's own support base. The accusations of corruption, financial misconduct, and governance failures have led both supporters and critics to closely watch how the drama surrounding Henyard's administration unfolds. Many now believe that her downfall is inevitable, with some even predicting that criminal charges could soon be filed against her. As investigations by federal authorities intensify and lawsuits against her continue to pile up, serious questions arise about how much longer she can survive politically. Henyard's unyielding defiance in the face of mounting challenges has only deepened the crisis. Once seen as a dominant and unshakable political figure, she now finds herself increasingly isolated, with her administration hanging by a thread. With legal and political pressures closing in from all sides, it appears that Henyard's time in office is rapidly running out. While it remains uncertain whether she can withstand the storm, the reality is clear. Her tenure as mayor is now on borrowed time. Outrage. When additional unexplained fees charged to taxpayers are factored in, the total amount balloons to over $100,000. The excessive spending has drawn sharp criticism, with many questioning whether it reflects reckless financial mismanagement or deliberate misuse of public resources. Some believe Henyard's extravagant spending is a strategic attempt to consolidate power, possibly using public funds to secure political favors and loyalty. Instead of acknowledging the concerns, Henyard has attempted to shift the blame, dismissing the accusations as politically motivated attacks from her opponents. Her defensive strategy has only intensified public skepticism, with many seeing it as yet another diversion tactic. In a move widely seen as an attempt to protect herself, Henyard recently hired a high-profile criminal lawyer, not to defend herself, but to represent the town. This decision has sparked even more controversy, as reports indicate that Dalton's taxpayers will bear the cost of the lawyer's fees. Critics argue that this move is not in the best interest of the community, but rather a desperate attempt to shield Henyard from legal consequences. Many believe that rather than focusing on governance, Henyard is using public resources to defend herself against mounting allegations. Her administration's repeated failure to address concerns directly has only deepened public distrust. Instead of offering transparency, Henyard has doubled down on denial, claiming that her critics are part of a larger conspiracy to remove her from power. Because I'm unique and different, everyone has a problem with me, but I'm doing what's best for this town. Rather than reassuring the public, her tone-deaf response further highlighted the disconnect between her and Dalton's residents. Many now view her as a leader unwilling to accept accountability, more focused on deflecting blame than addressing serious concerns. Keith Freeman, once Henyard's trusted ally, is now at the center of the controversy. His alleged cooperation with federal investigators has fueled speculation that he possesses incriminating information about Henyard's administration. If Freeman does hold evidence of wrongdoing, it could accelerate Henyard's downfall. Many believe that her relentless attempts to remove him are driven by fear of what he might reveal. Freeman's refusal to step down has created a political deadlock, further weakening Henyard's control. His ongoing presence within the administration prevents Henyard from fully consolidating power, making him a key figure in her potential downfall. Adding to her troubles, former employees have come forward with lawsuits accusing Henyard of abusing her position to retaliate against critics. These allegations paint a disturbing picture of an administration that operates through fear, intimidation, and suppression of dissent. As the legal and political pressure intensifies, it has become increasingly clear that Henyard's grip on power is slipping. Her unilateral decisions, refusal to engage with the Board of Trustees, and failure to address financial misconduct allegations have eroded public trust. What was once seen as firm leadership is now perceived as desperation. With lawsuits piling up, growing discontent among residents, and ongoing federal investigations, Henyard's ability to lead effectively has been called into serious question. As the controversy surrounding her administration continues to unfold, one thing is certain: her reign, once thought to be unshakable, is now hanging by a thread. The people of Dalton are demanding answers, and it remains to be seen how much longer Henyard can withstand the mounting pressure before she is forced to resign or removed from office. Her downfall, if it comes, will serve as a cautionary tale of power, corruption, and the consequences of failed leadership. Mayor Tiffany Henyard is facing a political and legal crisis that threatens to bring her administration to its breaking point. Despite her repeated claims that she is the victim of a political smear campaign, mounting financial irregularities, governance,